Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of. While listening to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast where we follow two first-time readers, Justin and Sheta, and we chronicle their journey through Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Mistborn, the Well of Ascension, chapters 52 through 55. So now it is time to start this up and throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Thank you, Joe. Welcome everyone once again. I don't know why I reiterate this after you just told what show this is, but it is Cosmere Chronicles. I am your host, Joe, and I am joined once again by Justin and Sheta. How are you right now on this fabulous day?
Wunderbar.
Yeah, damn it, you stole my joke. Okay, I'm doing swell.
All right, that's a mood. Okay, and so now we will ask questions and stuff, and yeah, you know the drill by now. So we'll go with the top 3 fairy tale characters, fairy tale anime / manga.
Oh man, I was about to go into some just fairy tale characters.
Snow White. Just kidding. Fairy tale. Okay. I like Natsu. Top 3, you say?
Yeah, we usually do top 3 when there's so many characters.
There's a lot. Probably just Natsu, Happy, and Gray.
Huh. I was not prepared. Hey, well, I like Carla or Charla, whichever translation you get. Little cat girl. Probably Natsu. And third, I'm gonna have to go with probably just Lucy. Pretty basic.
All right. For me, I'll have to go with Natsu at number 3, probably Gildar 2, and then Mavis at number 1.
Oh yeah, Mavis.
I don't think she's seen Mavis yet.
Yeah, I don't think you're that far yet, Sheta.
Okay. Number 1, huh? Okay, I can't wait to see you.
She's a good character.
All right. Your favorite adaptation of something, like TV or movie
favorite
adaptation. What? Adaptation. Because we always complain about
adaptation?
Yeah.
Huh.
Adaptation. My enunciation.
As an adaptation specifically, not like, okay.
What you enjoy. If it's not the best, if you still enjoy it a lot.
Oh, it's going to be Lord of the Rings. That is the best. Adaptations I don't always like in general, but Lord of the Rings adaptation is one of the best.
All right. Justin?
Oh, that's a big question, man. I need a second to think.
I know what it is for you. It's Gantz. Oh.
That's not really an adaptation.
We'll stay with live action. Adaptation.
Because things that just follow it strictly and keep the art style, to me, I don't really count those that much.
Oh, okay.
We'll stay with live action. Oh, I can go with mine.
Yeah.
She'd have said Lord of the Rings, and that would definitely be up there. But just to put something different, I'll have to say Ace Attorney, the live action movie. That was.
I didn't know that.
Oh, I think I'm gonna go with Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think that's the one I'll come to mind with.
That's fun.
Good
answer.
I think it did a good job of adapting it while also changing things to fit the movie format and the actors. Change the right things and keep the right things the same. Well, the thing is, the movie of Fight Club I like so much more than the book that I can't really think of it that way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That's why I thought it would be a good answer. I understand your reasoning.
Fight Club's actually not the best adaptation, but it is a great movie.
Yeah, I guess if we're rating it that way, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. That's also why I didn't pick any superhero stuff, because they kind of just make up their own story, too.
The characters still match how the character should feel.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
The tone of the story.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now we'll reverse it. What is your most hated adaptation?
God. I know there's
a lot of
power. Oh, that's not an adaptation.
You haven't watched that.
And I'm not going to.
Well, it kind of is. So while they don't have the rights to Silmarillion...
No, Joe, they're just making up their own stuff. They're just making up their own plot lines.
they're using information from the appendices because they have the rights to that, but not the
That's what they
Silmarillion.
claim. Oh, Kick-Ass. I fucking hate the Kick-Ass movie.
Oh,
I hate it so much.
God.
I think
you're
they
right.
went like all the things that made the comic what it is. I think they went against every single thing, and I do not understand how people actually like that movie.
Because all they saw was just what they assumed was awesome badassness and action.
Comic book that shows that, hey, if you do bad stuff, bad shit's going to happen back to you.
Yeah, basically.
Instead, the movie has it where, yeah, you can lie to a girl and say that you're gay in order to see her naked, and then she'll fuck you in an alley.
Oh my god, that was horrible. Okay,
Whereas
can you beat that?
Comic, she gets beaten up.
No, I do hate that. Yeah, I
Well,
just
that's in
had
the
mine
sequel.
on the tip of my head, but then you said Kick-Ass, and I was like, oh, I almost had it. I have one just as bad. I forgot the name of it. The bullet curving movie.
Wanted.
Oh, Wanted.
Wanted. But everyone knows that as a bullet curving movie, though. So that's something that people still.
It's a terrible adaptation, but it's not quite as bad of a movie.
Yeah. So
it is a god awful adaptation.
That's because they got rid of all the comic references that the comic was about.
You know what?
It
might be
bad
League
people killing
of
people.
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Have you watched that?
Yes, I have. I watched that before I read the comics. When Justin handed me the comic, I was like, "Is this based on off that Sean Connery movie?" It's like, this is nothing like it.
Oh god!
I couldn't even finish the movie. I got to a point and it's like, wait, how much more is it? There's still an hour left? F this, I'm done.
Oh. I watched that movie like a bunch of times because I thought I grew up with it.
Hey Joe, you got stiff competition here.
Hold on, I'm looking one thing up. And just so you know, fun fact, that was the final Sean Connery movie.
Oh
no. No, that can't be true.
Final movie was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Oh man. An idea of how you two threw out those and it's throwing me for a loop. 80s Dune maybe? But I haven't actually watched it, so I can't exactly say.
The visuals look awesome in that movie at the very least.
I didn't know I want to watch it.
I just want to know what it's like when they have Sting starring in it in one of the roles. Like the role he's in, it just does not seem to match Sting. Oh, I know Justin stayed away from the comic book. I'm just gonna have to go with Fantastic or the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. That was bad. Yeah, Thing doesn't wear pants.
Actually, Fantastic was, kind of trying to adapt the setup of Ultimate Fantastic Four, so I'd count it, even though they went in a totally different direction very quickly.
Dr. Doom forced to explode people's heads.
Oh God!
And just everything about that movie is just so bad. Oh, Josh, his idea when he was making the movie, he wanted to make it like a David Cronenberg body horror movie. Why the fuck are you making a Fantastic Four movie then? Fun and whimsical. It has to do with body horror. This is not Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I blame the people who hired him.
He had
you don't just
one
give a free pass to somebody.
He had one theatrical film under his belt, Chronicle,
which
admittedly was a decent movie, not the best, but not terrible.
Because it was his own idea.
He had a movie, and then they gave him $140 million to make Fantastic Four, and yet an established director, Guillermo del Toro, was not allowed to get $100 million to make Hellboy 3 and finish off that trilogy.
Yep.
Okay, all right, let's get off.
Little rant of the day.
What's that?
Yeah, we
the little rant of the day.
Well, we could keep going, but we have to stay away from.
Oh God, yeah. Thinking of adaptations, man, they don't stop coming.
Yeah.
See, that's an idea for a podcast you can do. You can read or watch an original, and then review the adaptation.
Oh, I
Oh
can't do that.
God, no! I don't think. Yeah, Sheta wouldn't have the energy for
I
that.
would.
She gets so worked up.
There's so many adaptations I just have refused to watch.
Yeah,
But
I know. You could
just,
not get.
Yeah.
You were not able to finish season 4 of Game of Thrones.
And that's on the lower end of bad adaptations. So
I
Sheta's
sniffed
tolerance
it
is.
being bad like pretty early, and I was like, "What is this?"
Good.
Oh, I forgot my actual hated one is Witcher.
Mm.
Yeah, because that one hurts my heart more. Because I love League, but it's a great comic, so I already got everything I wanted from the comic. But Witcher, though, I really would have liked it, and they even cast my man Henry Cavill to play him, and I just cannot believe how wrong that show is. So.
Mm.
And they kicked him. They made him leave. I'm sad.
Let's get back to Mistborn now.
Yeah,
First,
soon
we'll
we
do,
can complain about the Mistborn adaptation, I'm sure.
Oh God,
that one.
no.
If it does happen, I won't be. I'm somewhat worried, but not as worried because Brandon is very. He's really holding it closer to his chest. Like he has written. I think I've read. He's written like 2 scripts himself. One is one that more closely follows the books. One is one that does veer off from the book. But he's also not just randomly just being like, "Oh yeah, studio, here's my story. I'll take your money.
Mhm.
Do whatever you want."
Yeah.
If
Sorry,
one
Joe.
does happen, I would have a little bit more hope in it than others.
But
All right.
you saying that reminded me of actually my saddest one, which is the Aragon movie.
Oh, that's the
Because-
correct answer, Sheta.
Yeah. The Aragon movie, because that one is just the biggest travesty.
Or maybe just Goblet of Fire. Other Harry Potter movies fine. Just Goblet of Fire.
God, yeah, that is my least favorite.
Goblet of Fire still makes Aragon look like a masterpiece.
Oh, I know. And the sad thing is that it had all these things to set up like an entire series, just like Harry Potter, but it did not.
Mhm.
No one wanted to see more of that. Like,
All right. Now we are back to Mistborn.
okay.
And
That
now
was the
it's
last
time
one.
to review last week's episode. And Justin, it's your.
I'm sorry, did you say review last week's episode?
Well, give your little summary of it.
Hits and misses. Thought that Justin guy is a little overrated. I think we should bring back Nick, replace Justin with him. And
The chapters.
Oh, the chapters. All right. Let's think. Vin and Elend are leaving, correct?
Yes.
Straff realizes he's poisoned and he takes that stuff, or was that the one before?
Yeah, he finds out that he's been being drugged and he's going through withdrawal.
Yeah, drugged. That's what it was. Yep, drugged, and he's going through withdrawal. Vin and Elend find Elend's friend, whose name I forget, and hear that he's left. Yeah, hear that he's left all the koloss. Elend gets very pissed and righteously kills him, as he feels he needs to as his duty, even though he's not technically king. Everyone sees the koloss are coming, which is very scary. And Vin realizes she thinks she knows where the well is, and it's in the city, and starts going back. Am I forgetting something?
Yeah, she both realized the well is there, and also she realized that her friends lied to her.
Oh, yeah, I thought I said that, but yes.
Yeah. And Alrianne went to her father.
Oh, yes. And Alrianne tamed a bunch of barbarian bandits and went to her father.
Yeah.
And she got her father to go back to Luthadel.
Mm-hmm. But not to specifically pledge his support, but she did care about Breeze.
Oh.
All right, so now, before we go into this week's chapters, I'll just quickly ask you how you guys feel about them.
Oh, these ones were badass.
Yes, like the other books, I feel like the action stuff is starting at the end of the book. Like, I forget how much action is in these books. Like, this one actually hasn't been that too many. Mostly just fights with Vin and Zane. I guess I forget about Vin killing a bunch of Zane's
Well, yeah, there's been
half-siblings,
action, but you're right. Overall, there hasn't been as much.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
now we're getting to that.
Vin did explode a man's head earlier in the book.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
this was action on a whole nother level. This was action, and it's not just the action, just crazy shit going on like I did not expect.
Which is fun.
Alright.
We've been building up to a war this entire book, so it's here. War has come.
It was
War
also
declared.
absolutely horrible, too. I do need to say. So, super badass and abjectly horrible at the same time.
Yep. Well, let's get into the summary of these chapters. So we're starting off with chapter 52. My pleas, my teachings, my objections, and even my treasons were all ineffectual. Alendi has other counselors now, ones who tell him what he wants to hear. So this chapter begins, and Breeze is at Zinc Gate doing his best to soothe the soldiers. He is not able to soothe all of them at once, though, so he has to do one group, and then another group, and then another group. And when he moves groups, the first ones wind up having their fears return. And Breeze is also terrified himself, but he's not able to soothe himself. But the one thing that does help him keep going is knowing that Alrianne, Vin, Elend, and Spook aren't here. And then Clubs comes over to Breeze to see how things are going, and Breeze doesn't expect the men to hold once the koloss break through the grate. Clubs asks if Breeze can soothe the koloss, but Breeze says that he tried to, but was not able to do it. And then we leave Luthadel and go over to Vin, and she is currently running back to Luthadel as fast as she can doing a pewter drag, and she is upset at her friends for sending her away. She thinks back to how Kelsier had made her learn how to trust, and then died in order to save Spook and Orseer. She thinks back on his last words to her. You still have a lot to learn about friendship, Vin. She's upset that her friends didn't give her the same opportunity that Kelsier had. She still has a lot more to run, but she believes that her friends are already dead. And so you had the whole thing where, it's been 3 days since they had left. So she thinks they believe that the attack happened like the first day.
It's so sad and scary to think about. Like, I'm just running to nothing. Like, it's too late.
But that she keeps running says a lot about the character.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, it's hopeless,
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to Luthadel, and, Breeze and Clubs are there. Everything's going to shit. And Breeze asks Clubs how they got here. They are thieves, and now they are standing in front of a koloss army. And Clubs just says that they are idiots. Breeze smiles and says that it is all Kelsier's fault. And then the gate bursts open.
This part did a really good job of that. Like I said before about the boring build up to a war, this did a good part of that instance there. It's right around the corner. It's 1 second away, and you start to really, really feel that tension and nervousness while you're standing there.
I can't even imagine how that feels.
Yeah.
Like
I don't ever want to know how that feels, personally.
Yeah. That scene in War Things is always really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
The quiet moment when all the soldiers like, yep, any moment now. Like,
Yep. Any frickin' second, like.
mm-hmm.
And you got to be on guard, but you can't be too tense. You've got to be a little ready to maneuver. It just sounds horrible.
And you have to save your energy a bit. Like,
Yeah.
just so many factors. Like,
It kind of reminds me a little bit of the scene from Return of the King, where Gandalf and Pittman are inside Minas Tirith as, they're about to break down the gate, and feeling of, yeah, we're about to get fucked up.
Yeah, I love that. Seeing it through the eyes of a hobbit quite a bit.
So then we jump over to Sazed, and he is at Steelgate, and he gets word from one of Dockson's messengers that Zinc Gate has been breached. Sazed says that it is the most well-defended, so they'll be able to hold. He tells the messenger to tell Dockson that he fears for this gate's defenses, and to send someone else to lead. But the messenger says that that's why Sazed is here. After the messenger leaves, the man who's in charge, Captain Beatties, comes talk to Sazed. Beatties is completely overwhelmed and is in no shape to be in command. Sazed himself doesn't want to be in command because he does not feel himself as a warrior. And then Sazed notices a large group of civilians and goes over to tell them to get the hell out of there. Not in those words, because it's Sazed.
Get the fuck out of here!
When did he Cockney?
Hey, that's how I read it in my head.
So it's an early 2000s Guy Ritchie movie.
Yep. Vinnie Jones is Sazed.
Wow, that's good casting, Gus.
No,
No,
it's not.
No, it's not.
Alright, so then Sazed tells them to go to the center of the city because the walls will be far too dangerous once the koloss get through. But the civilians just tell them they're here to watch the koloss fall, and that the Lady Heir will protect them. They also call Sazed the Holy First Witness. If the heir were to join the fight, it will be near Sazed. And I think this is where the part where Sazed is just thinking about how can these people have faith. Because he believes that they're all going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And then some koloss are able to climb over the wall by climbing over the bodies of other koloss, and they're the big ones. They are able to reach the wall.
In World War Z.
Oh God, no.
Alright, so
Stack the bodies
climb
high
over.
enough. I love when monsters just don't even think by human logic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they climb over and they grab and they kill Captain Beatties. And Sazed knows that he must do something. You knew him for like a page.
He was a good
Good old
leader.
Captain Beatties.
Mm-hmm.
We never knew him.
I think there are other characters here you should care about more.
No, this was the hardest part. I stopped reading here, luckily, so that's as far as I know.
Isn't Captain Beatties like he was a noble? Like he's a young noble guy, right?
Yeah.
He should be at balls instead of here. Is what says
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
They said that about most
live.
of their generals that they have because of the peacetime.
Hmm.
Yeah. So Sazed knows that he must do something, so he taps his pewter mind, and he winds up growing as large as a koloss. And then Sazed punches one of the koloss out, turns to the soldiers, and tells them to fight. And so then they do.
Yeah, and Sazed being a badass in this part. I always love a character like that that's like, I'm not a leader, I'm no general. And then they do all the, anything you'd want out of that kind of person. Like, first off, he gets superpowers, and then second off, he gives everyone hope and gets them to want to keep going. It's always interesting when that type of character has no idea who they actually are.
And then we jump back to Vin. And then she runs out of pewter, and she believes that she has failed to reach her friends. She has a tiny amount of pewter left in some of her vials, but it is nowhere near enough to be able to reach Luthadel. Vin hears laughter coming from the ska hovels in the village, and thinks about that this is what Kelsier had fought for. He hadn't given up, and even his last words to the Lord Ruler were defiant. So she will not give up, and she will not accept her friends' deaths until she's holding their corpses. Vin gets to the village, and she gets brought into a hovel, and inside she asks for some pewter from them. Have any. They say that there might still be some cups left from the noble house when they had pillaged it. And Vin realizes that shaving the pewter off the cup would still simply take as long as walking to Luthadel. And then she thinks of a different plan and asks for horseshoes.
I was like, are you gonna eat horseshoes? Like, this whole part was so creepy. It felt like one of my nightmares where I'm like trying to eat something weird,
Is that a common nightmare?
I don't know, but like the cup, I need that. I need the pewter in that cup. Like, I gotta eat it or shave it down and try to eat it. And it's like,
You're saying that the Mistborn, the Allomancers, are kind of like creepy, inhuman freaks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's really weird. But they have to put the metal in their bodies. Like that's not natural. Like metal is the one thing you don't want to eat and stuff. Like it's unnatural.
It's not human to eat metal. I think that's what you're telling me.
Yeah, don't eat it.
Unless you know for sure that you are Mistborn.
Even still, don't eat a horseshoe. Like, oh.
But anyways, they give her some of the horseshoes, which she is not going to eat. and when they give it to her, one of the men asks, "You're her, aren't you?" And Vin just replies, "Yes." And then we get this whole scene where she's using multiple horseshoes, where she's like pushing one out and like putting one on the ground, pushing on it to fly through the air. Then she throws another one to the ground, pushes on that to keep going, pulls like the past one that she had already pushed into the ground. So there's this way to move very fast, trying to make her own little allomantic highway. And as she goes, it takes her a bit of time to learn how to use it, but then she starts using more horseshoes, so it's able to make her go faster and faster. And she thinks about how it's sort of like when Kelsier was fighting that Inquisitor and it just has all that metal flying around. And so now
I wonder if when she gets all the horseshoes going, if it sounds like a real horse galloping. Like,
that's stupid.
And she thinks that she might not arrive in time, but she will not give up halfway. That's
Good.
the end of the chapter.
I always really admire and like heroes who don't give up despite the odds, because, I mean, that's what heroes are for, in my opinion.
Mhm.
The people who think pragmatically and give up, that's what we have in real life. So I always really like that.
Yeah, they're heroic because they're like, what else am I gonna do?
Exactly.
here?
Yep.
Anything else from this chapter you want to go over?
Oh, it was nice to see a little bit of ska people who don't live in the city, like in the wild. Like
Mhm.
how are they thriving, or are they?
Yeah, how they're
Like-
doing out there, right? Yeah.
These are like normal, common folk people, and they
Mhm.
seem to be just happily, like living much happier lives.
Well, happier than they were before, even if they're cold and hungry.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah, at least
believe
there's-
how many times we used words like, violent words, but also words like how many times we used the word rape in the first book, and I don't think we've said it once in the second book. I think that alone illustrates the difference for the ska.
Except for when we talk about Straff. He's
Well,
still going.
technically, it's consensual in a slave way. It's a little different. You know what? Don't quote me on
Justin,
that.
don't say anymore.
That's not something I need clipped out of context.
Well,
It's consensual in a slavery way.
Well, last week you already said that Straff did nothing wrong, so
Straff did
Yeah.
nothing wrong. I stand by that. If they just listened to Straff from the start, none of this would have happened.
Oh my gosh.
all right. So on to chapter 53. I have a young nephew, one Rashik. He hates all of Klenium with the passion of envious youth. He hates Alendi even more acutely, though the two have never met. For Rashik feels betrayed that one of our oppressors should have been chosen as the hero of ages.
Right? And that's kind of what I was inkling towards it was going to be. That they'd made some kind of plan against the hero.
So now this chapter begins, and we're jumping to Justin's favorite character, Straff.
Yay!
He's watching Luthadel being attacked, and he's feeling good because he has figured out which drug Amaranta has given him. So he's able to take that and slowly wean himself off of it. But he might not, because he realizes that it does make him feel chipper.
What a loser! I kind of like
Yeah.
drugs.
Feel kind of good. Yeah, you would. It's
Dude,
a drug.
the effects of this drug, if you stop taking it, will kill you. And you're thinking, maybe I'll keep going.
You feel sick when you don't take it. You are just
Exactly.
an addict. Like,
Yeah, of course you feel chipper. You've taken your drugs, you fucking moron.
oh no.
And then General Gennaro says that 4 of the city gates have been breached. So he asks if they should attack, but Straff says no. They'll wait for the koloss to lose their bloodlust and to get tired and weakened. And then we jump back to Sazed. And Sazed is fighting off koloss, and he's using up his pewter mine very fast. And and a lot of his metal mines, he thinks about how he has spent decades building them up because he simply has not used them before. And he realizes that the koloss are coming to the gate very slowly. So Sazed goes back to the gate and manages it to move some of the bodies out of the way, and he closes it and he puts the plank back in place.
That was badass.
He taps his iron mine and makes his body's weight increase as he pushes against the gate. So the koloss on the other side try to push, but they cannot move it. And for the koloss that have already gotten inside the gate, his soldiers fight the koloss. And then eventually, after his iron mine runs out, Sazed notices how few men that he has left. There are barely 50 out of the 400 that he had started with. They know the gate won't last long, now that Sazed isn't holding it up. So Sazed says they will need to fight again. And then one of Dockson's messengers arrive and says that no reinforcements will come because Tindgate has fallen. Sazed worries about Tindwyl and asks how long ago the gate fell, because that was the gate that she was at. And the messenger answers over an hour ago, which surprises Sazed that this has been going on for so long. Sazed wants to go to Tindwyl and help, but then the board on his gate snaps.
This is another one of my favorite thing about chaotic war things is you're here fighting and doing everything you can. It's easy to forget there's a whole other side to this war happening over there, and they may not be. When you find out that they're not faring as well as you are, it's always really horrifying. You're doing everything you can, and then you find out, this gate has fallen, you know?
Yeah, it's always sad when you're like, yep, help's not coming because everyone's
Mm-hmm.
like worse than you are.
But again, you can't give up. If you give up, you will be killed. So it's just so interesting.
I know.
And yeah, the idea that
last
Sazed thinks so little of himself, but like you're saying, Sheta, he's faring better than most of the other people are.
Yeah, and like I know I had posted the map like last week when we recorded. So if you scroll up, you can see like his steel gate and tin gate, zinc gate. Those are on the right side of the map. So those are where the koloss would be, and his is at like the northwest.
Mm.
So you kind of get an idea about how far away he is from all the others.
Interesting. Is this the first we've ever heard of the gates and their names? Because that they're named after the metals is weird.
Yeah, they've been named a few times here and there. Plus, it's been on the map since the first book.
I see.
First time they're really playing like a significant portion of them. Right.
I wonder what that means.
All right, so then we go back to where Clubs and Breeze are, and Clubs orders the men to fall back into the city as more and more koloss spill through Zinkgate into Luthadel. Clubs orders the men to fall back to herring position. So they're going to be going to Keep Hastings, and that Ham should already be at Keep Lacal, because that would be where he would have been going to. And Breeze is just completely numb and thinks about how he was just useless. Clubs notices something, and he pushes Breeze out of the way of a group of koloss that just come around like a corner or something. The group came from the north, and now they are surrounded by koloss. Breeze watches as Clubs loses one of his arms, and then is brutally killed by the koloss.
No.
No!
I say no, but I was prepared for it ever since.
We
Sazed gave
predicted
him
him
that
every
speech,
time you
yeah.
asked, so like it was.
But that speech specifically about religion and gave him the little thing, I was like, oh, he's fucked,
Yeah.
So it's painful, but also expected, sadly. It's war, there has to be casualties,
And then the koloss turn towards Breeze, but they get distracted by some fleeing soldiers. And then once they lose sight of him, Breeze crawls and hides inside a building.
It's always very nice and interesting to see somebody act in a war like this the way that you could imagine yourself acting when the panic gets too high.
Yeah.
Because he's not a fighter, He's so hard on himself about this, but I'm like, dude, are you crazy? Like, you shouldn't even be here.
Mm-hmm. You're not trained as a soldier. You don't really know how to deal with that.
I was also like, oh, thank God Breeze is hiding. That's exactly what I'm so glad to hear that. I do not want him out on the battlefield.
And then we jump to Dockson, and he's, inside Keep Venture and like the map room stuff where he was organizing everything. And he's complaining about how all this is Kelsier's fault. They were excellent thieves, but that doesn't mean that they were good at running a kingdom. He thinks about how they could have just gone and killed all the noblemen and started fresh after the Lord Ruler had gone down. It would have been a slaughter the final empire had never seen before. But if they had done that, then they'd be no better than beasts. During this time, in this room, it's all just chaos because the other people in there realize koloss, they'll kill everybody, even just like the scribes and everything. So they're all running around. And then koloss would like break through, come into the room, and they just start slaughtering people inside. Dockson, grabs a sword and he curses Kelsier's name as he goes to fight. But his attack does nothing, and he is killed.
No.
This was such a, I say no too, but this was such a badass death. Because he's kind of frozen up for a second when he's realizing, and then he's like, just keeps, I think he yells something or slashes something at the very end. I don't remember.
God damn it. Just dies.
Basically, like, oh, you son of a bitch, fuck you,
Yeah.
And
I think it just says like
about
curses Kelsier.
Yeah. But that he doesn't,
I just remember this F you, Kelsey.
Yeah, basically. He doesn't cower at the end. He realizes that,
I like
his
seeing
hatred of the
quickly-
nobles and acting on it would be bad. What's that, Sheta?
I like seeing him quickly regret things and then also like not regret things. Like and then die, Like
Yeah, he
the kind
did
of
it in
things
the
you
right
think
way.
about. Yeah.
Very logically. He did all the thoughts you want to have before you go, and then he went out, I thought, quite badassingly for a little bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, this scene just to me just comes off as very sad. It's like he's in the room, everyone's just freaking out, and he's contemplating everything, and talks about he's like looking at like the stained glass windows and those all shatter, and it kind of makes me think a little bit of like the captain in the Titanic movie as the ship's going down. He's just standing on the bridge looking, and then just the glass shatters and all the water comes.
But he goes down with the ship. He doesn't run away, so he goes out badass. Or he goes out in a way that's honorable, I think. That's what I'm trying to say to yourself. If you got to put a period on the end of your life, there's way worse ones you could have than that.
I'm sad. Dax was one of my special favorites. So
Yeah.
I really liked his love story, and his friendship with Kelsier was very cute. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was also like the third like big character we met, because we met Vin, met Kelsier, and then Dox was the next one.
Yep.
All right, and then we jump back to Straff, and General Gennaro is telling Straff the city has fallen, and the koloss now are just slaughtering. The koloss are weak enough that they can take him, but Straff says no. The city have rejected him, so let them all die. He'll build a better city in its place.
He is
Right.
high. Like
Yeah, that too. I didn't think of that, but that's true, yeah. He is
just
acting quite a bit different than he was earlier. I also think from a writing way, this is an excellent way to make you fucking hate Straff. You thought you hated Straff before? Kill off 2 characters and then have him be like, good. You're like, no, fuck this guy even more than you felt just a bit ago.
Yep, and then the next scene, we jump over to Alrianne and Set. And Alrianne is pleading with her father to help Luthadel as they watch, but Set says no. Alrianne says that he came back, so why do that if not to help? But Set says they will help Straff and hope that he doesn't kill them. Alrianne says that she thought that he was a good man deep down, but Set says that all the good men died in that city.
I can't believe these 2 cowards.
What?
I hope they
How
meet
is Ariana
Aaron's.
a coward?
No, not him. I'm Set and
Straff and Set. I see.
who are just sitting, watching this happen, waiting to pick the pieces out of a bunch of vultures. Like,
I think this just
especially
goes with just like with Brandon. You saw it in Final Empire. You saw it in Elantris, and I think that he does a great job here of just making everything seem so hopeless. Because you jump from Clubs being killed, and then Breeze just pretty much breaking down, to Dockson being killed. Straff just saying, no, let everyone die. And then Alrianne just pleading to go help them, and Set just being like, no, we can't. Just making it all just seem very hopeless in all this stuff.
You know, it is hopeless. They would need a miracle to get out of this, which is always a place I really like when stories are, because, you know, then you don't know exactly what's going to happen.
Like, this is why if they do make an adaptation of it, if they do it well, like this whole section, I think would be this would work out so well on screen. Just having all these scenes cut in between them all.
Yeah, they do this kind of, the pacing of this is like a war. Like, oh no, now we're losing a lot. Like, it's all hope seems lost. Like, who should appear? Is it Gandalf on the horizon? Like,
best scene ever.
Yeah.
I think I might that one, or there were Hirian showing up at Pelennor Fields in Return of the King.
I don't think anything beats Gandalf showing up, because it really felt like they were fucked.
And they were ready to die. Right.
Oh yeah, that too.
They were like,
they were
all right,
go
let's
out
go
heroically and badassingly.
Well, they rode out once Aragorn remembered what Gandalf said.
Yeah, but the king didn't know that.
You had to have faith, though, too, that he was going to be there.
Yep. You had to have faith. There's no assurance, you know.
And that he didn't say specifics. It might have just been a metaphor, like, always look on the bright side, my friend. Like,
I didn't tell you to base your military strategy on it. Jeez.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to get Judge Dredd. I just couldn't find him. All right.
I'm going to say, Joe, Judge Dredd could solo that whole war, I think, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, bullets against spears is always
What if he was up against Sauron with the ring?
I don't know enough about the details of Sauron's power to tell you that. Well, can Sauron be arrested? That's the question. Is Sauron breaking any laws out there? That's the real question.
All right. Back to Sazed now, because we go to Sazed and he's fighting the koloss, but he knows that this is the end. He hopes that Tindwyl had gotten to safety and that Ellen was able to get that book to the terracemen. And then Sazed's pewter mine finally runs out. He thinks about how he did much better than a scholar should have been able to in this fight. At Sazed on the ground, he looks up. There's a koloss in front of him about to kill him. And he looks up at the setting sun. And then he sees a sparkling in the sun. And then a coin hits the koloss and kills it. And that's when Sazed notices that the sparkling in the sun is Vin. She lands in the city, and she just begins to fuck up and kill some koloss. Including at one point, she rips the gate off the wall and uses it to fight off many koloss at once. Sazed goes over to the civilians and says that they were right about Vin returning, but they now must escape. They will head to the northern gate, since that is where the koloss first entered, so they likely aren't there anymore. And then we jump back over to Breeze, and Breeze is just on the ground, and he's broken and thinking about how he is a coward. He's still lying in the building, but he is not doing anything. Ham comes up to him, and Ham's arm is injured, and he finds and tries to get Breeze up, but Breeze is not responsive. And Ham, since he's injured, he's not able to pick up Breeze and carry him. In his mind, Breeze thinks that he is a coward and he is not much use. That he himself, not Ham. And the nearby soldiers, when they're talking to Ham,
in his mind, he thinks Ham is a coward. What the fuck?
Useless Ham.
I realized when I said it, the pronouns, because I was just done talking about Ham, so I had to clarify.
Can't even pick me up, you lazy bastard. That would have been very terrible. I wouldn't have liked that.
All right, and then the nearby soldiers say that they were, they tell Ham that they were able to feel Breathe soothing them even after Clubs had died. Sazed then arrives and tells Ham that they should head to Keep Hasting. Hopefully, they can find sanctuary there.
I like the little thing about Breeze doing that still. It's interesting that he thinks so little of himself when he's obviously so incredibly useful to this battle.
Yeah, and like everyone, no one expects him to fight and do warrior stuff,
Mhm.
He did what he
Yeah.
could do, like, to the max to help everybody, And that is how he's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, oh, I can't even fight. And it's like, you don't need to fight. Like, you're doing way more.
Yeah.
I feel like that when I'm playing video games and I'm a healer. And I was like, I didn't get as many kills. I'm sad.
Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I think just Vin arriving is really exciting.
Mhm.
But
I have
will it
one-
be enough? Like,
I have
What's
one question.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, when after this chapter, did you believe that Tindwyl had made it or not?
I really wasn't thinking much about that because so much was happening. I read these all very quickly together, so I had not gone that far in my head.
for me, I thought, well, it was because Breeze hid and was okay. I thought Tindwyl will probably hid too. She's smart, She'll probably hide or do something else like that.
I don't know, would she?
Yeah. I can't imagine her. I couldn't imagine her trying to fight and getting killed like that. Like,
Yeah, but
Oh.
like they broke through. They broke through hard over there, it sounded like. I don't know, that hiding does you much good anyways.
And she is a keeper, so she does have metal minds like Sazed, so she can fight.
yeah. I think there was a point where I thought they're killing her off too, like for sure. But I think it's later.
All right, well, we'll go on to chapter 54. All right, so Alendi will need guides through the Terrace Mountains. I have charged Rashek with making certain that he and his trusted friends are chosen as those guides.
Mm-hmm. Bastard.
All right, so we start off, and Vin is fighting and killing koloss, and she regrets not asking Sazed for one of his pewter mines, so that way she could have swallowed it and burned it. She isn't feeling as bad about killing the koloss as she did during the attack on Set. She has a purpose now. She can kill if it means defending those that cannot defend themselves. She has killed so many koloss and is fighting on the top of a pile of dead koloss. But she realizes that she is only one person. She cannot save Luthadel alone. Then we go back to Sazed, Ham, and their group of thousands who are arriving outside Keep Hastings, shouting for Penrod, but there is no response. Messenger arrives and lets Sazed know that Keep Venture has fallen and that Dox is dead. Sazed thinks about how the koloss will now start slaughtering civilians. Thinks about Clubs' body and the coin he had given Clubs, which Clubs was wearing around his neck, and that it did not help Clubs. And then Penrod comes out onto the wall of his keep, and he says that the city is falling. Sazed tells him that they must leave, but Penrod says that he won't abandon the city. Sazed says he's with his people, but Penrod says that Keep Hastings is the tallest building, and he can see outside. There is no escape. The koloss won't let them leave. Even though civilians that Sazed had sent off to the northern gate have been killed. And then Sazed asks for Penrod to let them inside instead. But Penrod says there's no room. He saved Elend's life, but doomed himself. And then Penrod goes back inside the keep.
Penrod was very interesting in this part. I was really curious how he's going to be during all this hopelessness, because he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would, want to be in this position in the first place. But he also doesn't seem like just a coward or an idiot completely. So I actually really liked how he was portrayed here, because he just seemed kind of hopeless, broken, and in over his head,
Yeah. This is not the setting for this kind of character.
Yeah.
Can't believe it though. I knew he wouldn't open his gates up.
Well, no. What would be the purpose?
To what you just said about Vin, just it's heroic. It's it's
Yeah, but
you
there's
help
no
people.
room. He said, there's no
He's
helping to be
lying.
had. Is he? I don't think so.
You can have standing space for people, it's not like you have to house and feed them right away, just to get them behind the wall at least, so they don't get slaughtered.
I wouldn't say he's lying. I don't think that, but I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, Vin is rushing to a hopeless. Well, she was rushing to the hopeless situation, but she was still doing it.
Yeah, but it is
Vin
one that
wouldn't
she
even-
knows that if she can get there on time, that she could do something about it.
That's just a difference of mindset between Vin and Penrod.
No, Penrod's not meant to be a king. I think that's the idea.
Mhm.
I'm
I
just
think
impressed
Ellen
that
would
he
have opened
didn't
the
run
gates.
away, I don't know if I believe Elend is meant to be a king either, Because there's the opposite direction of being a little too optimistic.
Yeah, but Elend has changed throughout the book. I mean,
I'm
did
curious
just
to
But
see
maybe because of the
if he
spirit that's
survives
inside
and makes
him.
it back here. What's that?
Said that maybe because of the spirit that is inside him.
Oh my god. Get out. Get out. You're done. I forgot
Oh,
about
yeah.
that.
That's still
That
an open
absolute
theory.
nonsense.
that Zane took over Ellen's body, or
Mhm.
has joined him in the body. Ugh.
Mhm.
Okay, back to this battle. Vin realizes that she cannot kill all the koloss, and she needs to find a different way. And she decides to try to find the Well of Ascension, but she has no idea where to search. And even if she does find it, would releasing the power even help with the koloss? Because she believes that releasing the power will get rid of the mists, but what will it do to the koloss? The koloss are killing all of Ellen's people. Kelsier trusted her with them. And then Vin's pewter finally runs out, the last little bit that she had. And Vin fights off unconsciousness from her pewter drag. Some people being chased by koloss. And then she goes to them, and without pewter, steel, or iron, she's able to fight and kill a couple of the koloss using just her knives. Then she sees that the people that she just saved are now being attacked by other koloss farther down the alleyway. Vin has nothing else to use, and without thinking, she uses a Duralumin Soothing. She feels a barrier and breaks through it. And then those koloss right there stop attacking. And Vin realizes that the Lord Ruler gave both the Inquisitors and the Kandra a weakness. Tensoon had called the koloss his cousins. The Lord Ruler had given the koloss the same weakness as the Kandra. She now knows how he had controlled those koloss for all those years.
I'm surprised I didn't see this coming as the resolution to this situation. This part was badass.
Mhm.
And then we go back to Sazed, and he's still outside Keep Hastings as he sees a group of koloss coming, but they do not attack. The koloss separate, and Vin walks between them. Vin goes up to Sazed, and she's annoyed at him for lying to her. And she has a koloss come up and lift her up. She's standing on his hand, and so that way she's pretty much up to Penrod's wall. And she demands that Penrod comes out.
Cute.
She tells him that she is tired of all the games and people dying because of arguments between their leaders. Penrod will take his soldiers and go through the city to protect the people. If they find koloss, then they will send for Vin. Vin gets down and talks to Sazed. She asks if any of the others survive, but Sazed tells her that Clubs and Dox are dead. And he points out Breeze, who's with them, but he is still in a form of shock. And then Vin has Ham give her some of his pewter. Sazed tells her that there is still another army. Vin says that she knows and is well aware of Straff's intentions, as she picks up one of the massive koloss swords.
Yes.
So there you go. When you looked at all those covers of the books, and you Justin or Sheta, one of you said, if she does not use a giant sword like this, I'm going to be pissed.
I didn't really expect it to really happen. I thought that would just be a cover thing.
That's such a spoiler for the end, now that I think of all those things.
I'd forgotten about it, so apparently not.
I wouldn't really think so, because if you just saw a book with someone with a giant sword, I don't really think that's a spoiler. She could pick up a big sword anywhere.
Yeah.
I really
It's a money shot for sure.
it would have
That might have been one for the... Yeah.
Which that, I think, would have been a spoiler, because you'd see the scene and situation.
Mm-hmm. That might have been for the anime type young audience cover, though.
It was really interesting in these chapters, because I feel like the whole book,
kids like that kind of thing.
It was interesting in these chapters, because it seemed to me like the whole book that Vin's kind of been like trying to play along with what Ellen wants and what she thinks everyone wants and stuff, and be polite and be quiet. And we've gotten to the point where she's absolutely done with that. She's completely sick of not just running around and killing everything that she needs to kill, She's making orders of the open king of this land and stuff like that. It's very interesting to see her kind of come out and start being the character that I think she's always kind of been inside, but has always kept down, even in the previous book.
Yeah. I like that a lot, because you're like, Vin, you are...
You are what?
How superheroes... Kind of like how you're larger than life, is what I was saying.
Ah.
She's like a superhero who doesn't really play by the rules of normal people, because they are doing bigger things, They're trying to save the world on another level, so like your stuff doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see that finally.
Yes.
All right, and then we go to the last scene of this chapter with Sazed, and Sazed spends the entire night going through the corpses in the snow and ice. I forgot to mention earlier.
I don't think we need to cover this part, Joe. I don't think we need to cover this part.
I don't like it.
I think we can just move on to the next chapter.
Nope, we have to. And then it was near morning when he finally found Tindwyl's body. After years of abuse from the breeder masters, she dies in the city she doesn't belong with a half-man who doesn't deserve her. At this point, Sazed stops tapping his brass mine, which has been keeping him warm, so that way he can feel the cold. And he doesn't know what to do. He just feels like all of his religions are hollow right now. They didn't save Clubs or those followers of the survivor who got killed at the North Gate. What was the point? Sazed has so many religions, but if people believe so many different things, then how could any of them be true? Sazed was a man with 300 religions and faith in none. His life has been a sham. And that's the end of the chapter.
Sad, no.
Yeah, very sad. I mean, once he started walking back on his own, like this, that's when I started to think about it and be like, she didn't make it.
I think it was, Yeah, when he's like, tells Vin that he's got to go do something, I'm like, no.
Well, even when he says he's gotta, I think, maybe she'll be okay. It's once it starts getting very poetic in the descriptions about how it is and stuff. It was just horrific to read.
This scene in the movie would just make me cry so much. Like,
this would be the end of the episode of the show, Yeah,
you're like, no, too sad. Looking for your loved ones amongst like bodies after a war. Oh, that's the saddest thing.
And that it's
you
so
want
hard
to find
to
them,
tell
but you
who's
also
who.
don't want to find them.
Yeah, you're dreading it.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to tell who's who, because they're all just meat and bodies at this point, which is not the way you want to see your loved one, Just sounds horrible. And it's very fascinating to see Sazed confront the thing people have always been talking to him about the way he thinks of religion and stuff, and to see him have to look at it tangibly and really get the feelings that go with it and stuff.
Yeah. Who had criticized him about that? Was it Clubs?
Yeah.
A lot of people had.
like recently just being like, I
Yeah.
don't like types like you who, believe in all these things, religious types, but then,
They don't believe in anything,
yep.
Well, I don't think anybody else really criticized him for it. Kelsey always wanted to hear it. Vin was more like, why do you know so much? And
No, I mean, they
Tindwyl,
always kind of asked him, like, how can you believe all these things and believe any of it at the same time?
yeah, okay, that part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clubs
You're
was the
like,
only one who
how
just...
do you know it's true? Like,
Yeah.
I think the other big thing, too, that goes into it is that, because in the first book, Sazed always had faith and hope. When Kelsier died, he's the one that told Vin, you have to have hope. You can't only have that when things go well.
Mm-hmm.
And now in this book, he's really facing it, and he did not have hope earlier when all those other people did. And now, like, he's just been crushed by Tindwyl's death. It's just the exact opposite of where he was after Kelsier's death.
It's interesting people who talk about these hope things in a way like this, because Sazed's had a very hard life. It's not like he has had hardship, but it's a lot easier to keep hope until the person you love dies. I think that's what it is, That's about
it's
the
that.
one thing where you're like, well, what's there to hope for? It's that one.
It's that you can't have your highest hope, which Caesar had probably never thought of ever finding someone to love like that, being that unique and all. And then to finally open up to that and have it taken away like that would do it.
Yeah, having the hope makes it worse,
That's
It's
what I
easy
mean.
to
Like,
have hope when you're hopeless. I think that's what I'm trying to say, When you have no
Yeah.
hope at all, it's a lot easier to think, maybe I should try to believe in hope. But when you have so much to lose, that makes it so much harder,
Yeah.
I'd imagine. Luckily, I, of course, have never been in a situation like this. I hope never to be, but it's very interesting to think about.
Yeah, that's what books are for and things.
Mm-hmm.
Get to explore these awful feelings without having to actually feel it.
Without having to actually lose the love of your life after years of being
You
hopeless
just
without having
imagine
one.
it and you're like, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely horrible. But I think it makes sense when I see what he's doing with Sazed's character.
Yeah, and I'm like, you're so cruel. You did this on purpose. Brought Tindwyl
Well,
in,
yeah.
made them get all in love and stuff. And like this
Isn't
whole
that a
thing was
writer's...
formed to break Sazed, like to
Yeah.
break his faith. Like,
Isn't that a writer's job, Sheta? To do horrible things to characters and the reader on purpose?
yeah, as long as you
Or to make you like something just to make you cry?
if it's a good cry, then yeah.
Yeah, a needed cry, yeah.
Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I didn't even want to go over this chapter.
Yeah. We could have skipped it.
We really could not have skipped it. It's a very important chapter.
Let's just, do the rest of the book without it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you skip all the uncomfortable parts.
Yeah, we're just going to read the fun, happy parts.
Yeah.
Why did Dockson stop showing up in the book?
Yeah, what happened to Dockson?
He's just in the bathroom. He's here.
When's Kelsier going to come back?
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll go on to chapter 55. Rashek is to try and lead Alendi in the wrong direction, to discourage him or otherwise foil his quest. Alendi doesn't know that he has been deceived, that we've all been deceived, and he will not listen to me now.
Oh man, I want to know what this deceived thing is. They're building up the third book here, and I'm very, very curious to see what it's going to be.
So we start off with everyone's favorite character, Straff.
Yeah.
And Straff wakes up feeling very good. He takes some drugs and goes outside of his tent, and he meets General Gennaro. Gennaro informs him that the fires in the city are out, and the koloss have likely stopped rampaging. So Straff's army begins to head out, and then they see the koloss lined up outside the city. But Straff still feels good, because the koloss are at about 2/3 strength, and they're abandoning the city, so they're abandoning their fortifications. But then Gennaro points out that it looks like there are humans lined up with the koloss, which upsets Straff because they should all be dead. And then the koloss and the humans begin to charge. And then Straff notices an arrow coming towards him. But koloss don't use arrows. Then he realizes that it was not an arrow. It was a person in a mist cloak. And then he's just like, he says no. And in his mind, he's just thinking, she's not supposed to be here. Then Vin slams her koloss sword down onto Straff and cuts his horse in half. She looks at Straff's remains and thinks that Elend had warned him what would happen if he attacked the city. And then Vin uses her Jabalamin and pushes the nearby horses and their riders away. And the koloss arrive and the battle begins.
Straff didn't even get the dignity of dying in his own point of view. They cut away and had him die in Vin's point of view. Because when a character dies in their own point of view, it's very epic. You really, really remember that death, like you really feel it. Straff was not important enough to get that.
I think
actually we didn't even see him die technically. We just saw, and then his horse was cut in half, was said before him, and then what was left of him she dead. It just shows in the big scheme of things, what an insignificant little character he actually was,
I'm really glad for this. Yeah. Oh.
Straff stayed a loser throughout it all.
Mm-hmm.
Just his last thoughts were, "No, why? She's not supposed to be here."
Not even why. Why would have been more epic. Why would have been why? He's confused. He's just scared and confused. That's all it is. Wait, what? I thought, dead. It is such a perfect ending for that character. I am so impressed with it.
Yeah. I'm glad to see what he really thought and wanted to do with the character all along.
He's nothing.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, good. He didn't make him all badass or interesting at the end. So I'm glad.
Yeah, when a real loser character has a really defiant ending and it makes him seem so cool even though they're such a piece of shit. Not Straff.
I was afraid of that, yeah.
Where he's like, or he'd be like, or he'd just be like, that bitch, or something like that, Nope, none of that. Or, oh, I suppose I was wrong. Something cool,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy.
Not even a confidence like Grand Moff Tarkin has, right? Dies like nothing. No.
Yep. No regard. No coolness. Mm-hmm. No final line or anything.
Yep.
His final line is him whining in his own head.
Yeah, not even a memorable line, Joe. I'd forgotten that's what he said. Like.
Oh, and Justin, when you were talking about being in someone's point of view when they die, I think the only one we've had in all 3 books we've read so far is Dockson.
Zane we had. But Dockson's was super cool. Zane's was super cool too.
Technically,
I loved Dockson's.
Technically, Zane died in Vin's point of view. We heard his last thoughts, but then went to Vin and he was still moving and then died.
Okay, sure. But last thoughts,
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. And yeah, Dockson's was great,
It's just a specific way and how he said it.
Then you just cut to the aftermath. R.I.P.
Good riddance.
Too good for this world.
Straff, we hardly knew you.
Actually,
no, we knew too much.
Way too well. Yeah.
TMI, Straff.
Yeah.
And go back over to Set, and he's watching and wondering, what the hell's going on? Because now the koloss have run out and started attacking Straff. And Alrienne rides up on a horse and says that they have to help. But Set says no, and that he will use this to take the city. But then Alrienne kicks her horse into motion and rides down into the battle. She stops for a moment and tells her father that if he wants to protect her, then he better charge. And then she takes off again. And Set thinks about the reason why he came to Luthadel. Was he looking for a confirmation of the stories that he had heard? And then he tells his men they are marching to the defense of Luthadel. And that for somebody to fucking grab Alrienne and stop her.
See, I always liked Alrienne fine, but this is where I really, really like the character. Because anyone who just rides into a battle like that, and it's not that she rode into the battle, it's that she rides in, and then she stops and looks back exactly like Set knew she would do, because this is how she is, and she knew it would work on him. I liked quite a bit.
Whee! You better come get me!
Yeah, basically.
And it shows that she has always cared for Breeze. It wasn't just, manipulate him. She comes back like, no, we have to help him. And then she's trying to put herself into danger in order to help him.
She definitely
but
put
in
her
a way
money
where
her
she
mouth
also
was.
knows, where she knows how her father's going to react. She probably knows a lot of what he's thinking already, that he probably is more than he just sells himself as,
Well, I did say in an earlier episode that Alrian is best girl.
Mm.
Then we jump back over to Sazed. He's watching the battle, but he's not engaging in. He keeps thinking back to Tindwyl and why he did not go to her gate when he heard it fell. He could have saved her. He thinks about the civilians who never lost hope while he had. And he thinks back to the work that he and Tindwyl had been working on. As Sazed watches the battle, he thinks of the prophecies. The hero of ages was a person who united others. He was removed from the Terrace people. He was not royalty, but eventually came to it. Then Sazed watches as Set's army joins the battle. The hero of ages commanded the forces of the world. Kings rode to his aid. Straff's army is in complete disarray because Vin is just going around killing all their generals. With Set joining in, Sazed knows how this battle will go. And then he rides in because he knows that he should be there for what happens next. And then Straff's army...
First witness. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, holy first witness. And then Straff's army surrenders. General Jennarl is brought to Vin with the broken leg. And then Vin has him kneel and swear loyalty to Elend, which he does. Penrod comes out.
You're the leader of your army? No, you are at this point, or you command them. I think it's funny when a guy like that knows exactly what's going on, knows exactly what to say to not be killed right then and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked him too. Very sensible,
Just doing his job,
Yeah.
And also the fact that Vin makes him kneel with a broken leg.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
And then
no
Penrod
mercy to these people.
Then Penrod comes out and Vin points to the ground. And so he kneels and swears loyalty to Elend. And Set comes out and he's riding his horse and he asks what she will do if he refuses. And she says that she will kill him. And Set says that Elend would never stand for a threat like this. But Vin tells him that Elend's not here.
Ooh!
The fact that she's having everyone pledge loyalty to Elend, I don't know. It's so badass.
I know. She's like ultimate. When Ella gets here, she's like, "Babe, I got the city for you." Like,
well, it's badass because they say too. They just said Elend wouldn't approve of this, and she's like, "I'm making you pledge to Elend. I don't give a fuck if he would approve of it."
Yeah.
Like I said, she's doing it as she believes it should be done, which I think is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are all kinds of things she's been saying all along. She's not really into the diplomacy. She's not into like the nice stuff. She's like kind of dark and scary in a lot of ways. Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting because I was curious what the morality of this story was going to be in regards to that. It's interesting to see it come out on the, strong man, good guy kind of side of things.
Yeah. And I think these people hiding behind Ellen is so interesting. And Vin's like, "Bitch, it's fucking war. I just killed all your generals. You're gonna complain that anyone can die. We're not playing by those rules anymore,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Set says that Elend would tell him not to give in to a demand like this. But Vin says that he is not the man that Elend is. Set smiles and says that no, he is not. And he has his men take him off his horse and put him to the ground.
I like that because Set really seems to respect blunt what's the word I'm looking for? You just state the facts, you don't
Honesty.
bullshit, you don't sugarcoat. No,
blunt is what you want.
Yeah, there's another word. It doesn't really matter, but yeah. But
Directness?
just people who are honest and they're not nice, they don't sugarcoat things. So when somebody says you're not a brave or you're not an honorable good man like that and Set smiles at it, I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like he would be willing to bow to somebody like that a little bit more,
I think he's also like, well, you got me there,
Yeah, exactly. I can do this somewhat honorably, for my own, or pridefully,
It's just those are the kind of things someone like that would say, and then they're kind of going back and forth until they're at the end of the argument and stuff,
Yep, that too. Cut through everything, Let's not talk about this or think about this, Yeah, you're right.
Plus, he probably likely knew what he was going to do once he rode to help Luthadel.
I wonder. I do.
Because he was saying that he was wondering why exactly he came here, and probably to see if the stories were true about Vin and stuff.
Yeah, but what if I really wonder, somebody like that, can you say the wrong thing and they just are like, okay, no, fuck it, I'd rather die, you know? I don't know him well enough, so I'm curious.
We do know that he just wants to survive and be allied with whoever wins, you know?
Well,
So,
ideally he'd want to rule over, but he realized that was not possible after a point. But when Vin came in, you know, and killed all his men, he was like, just get it over with, you know, do what you're here to do, you know? So he's not somebody who's like, you know, life is like the most important thing to them, you know, who would cling on to it like desperately.
Right. And then Vin has Sazed come over, and she tells him to secure Luthadel. She tells the kneeling kings that Sazed is her second, and to obey him like he was Elend or herself. And she is going to go and sleep. As Sazed...
Yeah, I bet. Oh my god. When they were describing how tired she was all the time, I was really feeling it. Like, how are you not dead at this point? Just burning all that stuff was crazy.
I thought it was very cute that she wanted to tie everything, like, take care of everything, and before she goes to sleep. This feels like me at the end of a vacation or something. Okay, is everything in the right place? Okay, I'm gonna go pass out now.
Yeah.
Like, oven isn't on. Okay, good. Like,
And as Sazed watches Vin leaves, he thinks of this prophecy some more. The hero of ages left ruin in his wake, but it was forgotten. He created kingdoms and then destroyed them as he made the world anew. Sazed thinks that they had the wrong gender all along. And that's the end of part 5.
I wonder if Sazed is just, you know, thinking about the prophecy and the way he was thinking before, or if he's finding his new religion here. I'm very curious.
yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised he was still thinking like that after losing faith and stuff, you know?
Well, man, you see this many things just sync up that well. It's hard not to start thinking about it that way.
Yeah. But it's really interesting because he is a part of it. Can you believe in something that you are a prophet in, you know?
I mean, I would imagine that's what, like, a lot of disciples would feel. Otherwise, they wouldn't be disciples, right?
Oh, yeah, so.
I don't know a lot about that stuff, but I mean, in the Bible, they believed that Jesus was divine, right? His disciples, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, except for
so
the
they know
doubter.
well, his betrayer. No, isn't he a betrayer because he did believe that and still betrayed him anyways? Isn't that what it is?
Judas?
Yeah, I'd assume so, but I don't know.
It's been a while. All I remember is Jesus tells him at Last Supper, you're going to betray me, so go. Then he goes, and then he tells Peter that, yeah, you're going to deny that you know who I am.
3 times you're going to deny it.
Yeah, those are two things. It's been a while since I've looked at that, but I remember those 2 things particularly.
I think it's just because it's in their personality from what I remember. But then I always thought it was sad because I was like, but Jesus knew their roles were to teach that lesson, you know? Which is kind of funny.
Does he know their roles are to teach that lesson, or does he just know what will happen? So he knows that that's what it will be.
I don't know. We don't really get a Jesus POV.
Well, I mean, humans have free will, right? So God couldn't make them do something just to teach a lesson, or he wouldn't, right? I don't know the lore. This is just my guesses from the
Jesus is
understanding.
a conduit for God. So a lot
Exactly.
of times he doesn't really know what God's plans are, you know. He just kind of trusts and has faith in it. So I don't think that he would know the details.
And clearly, none of us are pastors or priests who know the Bible super well versed.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to go read just to know some of those things because they're very interesting.
I've seen like Good Friday plays and stuff a bunch when I was younger, but I haven't seen them in a while.
Well, you got a Passion of the Christ sequel coming out soon.
Nice.
Where Jesus
The
hunts
sequels
down
are
those
always
who betrayed him, and
That is not what that's going to be about.
sequels are the most action-packed of a series. So.
Exactly. You know it's going to be like the first one, but with more action.
Yeah.
Okay, so anything else from this chapter you 2 want to go over?
Just what I'm saying I actually think it's pretty crazy that Vin is kind of awakening so much and becoming this character who's just not putting up with bullshit and forcing things to happen, that she's been sitting here a book, you know. Like, if it was up to her, she would have just went out and done a lot of this almost right away, you know, just fly in, kill everybody, force them to bow down to Elend, or she'll kill them, which is so different from how he thinks, I'm really curious what Elend is going to think when he gets back.
Yeah. Like she was saying, she couldn't have done this before because she said killing now felt like the right thing to do. She's protecting people and she's like helping and defending the people and stuff, Doing it before would not have felt like that. It would have just been murder, So I think she really found, her role and stuff is to be a hero, not like an assassin, a murderer,
It's also interesting because Ellen's basically trying to make a democracy, like a modern day, like the ground roots of what a modern day one would be, but they don't live in that kind of world. They live in a war-torn fantasy world where it's really interesting that a little more, I wouldn't say dictatorship, but, closer to what a monarchy would be like, that is probably the smarter way to go is really interesting to me to see. Because a lot of stories tend to take modern ideas and values and just say that's the right way to go, no matter what the world is or what, would make sense. So again, I'm actually quite surprised by this turn of events.
Because you're like, yeah, those are good ideas, but these people are basically living in the Dark Ages still. Like,
Yeah.
So.
And there's literal monsters everywhere that are killing your town right now, and you have superpowers to go deal with it, Like one woman killed like all the generals of the, like that kind of stuff does not really happen in real life.
Yeah, it's kind of like a superhero world where superheroes can do all that stuff too.
Yeah, superheroes always have that kind of view because it's whoever's toughest wins, So you make sure the good guy is the toughest,
I also think that's interesting now where the problems that we have been set up and we've been dealing with throughout the entire book have been solved. Zane's gone. The 3 armies are all taken care of. And we still have one more part of the book.
Well, we still haven't dealt with the mist or found the well or any of that stuff yet.
Yeah, and revelation of what happened to the Alendi.
Yeah.
Well, we know what happened to Alendi.
Well,
yeah, but that he was specifically set up because the guy believes there's some other element to this that we don't fully know about yet.
Yes. What is the element? I'm so curious.
All right. Well, we'll move over to the prediction segment. So first I'll ask for any open predictions or theories that you may have.
We also have the mystery of what Marsh is up to, which might be related to the element.
I totally forgot about Marsh.
Yeah.
Even though we talked about him last week and predicted he'd just fly in and deal with everything, I totally forgot about him.
I know. I thought he'd show up in the war.
He's been gone since, I think, episode 3 of our Well of Ascension podcast. That's the last time we talked about it.
What are we going to do when we find out he just fell off a cliff or got bit by an animal and got rabies?
Got bit by a snake. He went to pee and got bit by a snake and then he died.
Yeah, and then Sazed just left him. He was just over there. He'd fallen down a ravine or whatever, and he was like, Sazed, help. Sazed's like, I guess he's not coming back.
That's the Inquisitor's second weakness. First weakness is pulling out the spike in the back. Second weakness, a black mamba.
Yeah, exactly. Sazed has too much faith in Marsh, is all I'm saying.
He didn't look very hard for him leaving. So just imagine being Marsh kind of just dying behind a bush while Sazed walks away. It's too funny. If he doesn't show up at the end of the book, I'm just gonna think it's something like that. I don't know if Ellen will be happy or mad or sad or scared about what happened, like about what Ben did.
Ellen cut the guy's head off. I think he's warmed up to the idea of being a king,
murder
instead of a president.
Yeah, I think maybe he's
instead of a
evening
figurehead,
out. Yeah. You kind of have to meet that Dark Ages thing halfway. You can't just force everyone who has had like a whole system with slavery to just like all of a sudden give it up and vote and stuff.
Well, to vote in their best interests too, you know.
You can't just start
And
agreeing
especially
with that
when
right
it's
away.
yeah, it's not like everyone's voting. It's just the people up top representing the people down below. It's just even in our world, in a war setting, the leaders get emergency powers. You know,
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
true.
thing, like Tindwyl said, of giving an option for yourself to be voted out during wartime is just hilarious.
So,
All right. So next week we will be finishing the book. So we'll get your theory on how this book is going to end.
They find the well. It has all the ATM in it. And then somebody's like, oh my God, that's what the text means. And then Kelsier walks out. There's my ending.
wow.
Kelsier walks out.
He just walks out. He's like, yo, guys, I got reincarnated into the well. And guess what? Something's coming. There's my
So,
pitch.
so do they use the well?
They're about to. They don't get to yet. Or my other one is Vin goes to use it. She gets the power and she's like, time to give it up. And then Sazed's like, wait a minute. That's what this means. And he runs off. Don't, Vin. And she gives it up. And then the creature from the end of Cabin in the Woods reaches out, and they've got to deal with that in the next book, basically.
You mean the audience? Because that's what that thing was at the end of Cabin in the Woods. That was us.
Yeah. Metaphorically, it was. But I just mean an ancient old god thing reaches out like that.
So an old god's going to come out and start ruining everything, and they have to stop it.
Well, we're going to see it rise, and we won't know where that's going to go.
I think that Vin will get to the Well of Ascension. She will go in there. I don't think she will give up the power because she's going to think, I am going to do something with it, and I know that I have to be strong enough to protect people from what I think is coming.
Uh-oh.
She'll take the power, Ellen will show up, Vin will be all different, and it's going to be sad.
You're going
Then
to turn
we'll
Vin into the
basically-
villain of the next book, Sheta?
I think she will basically be like a new Lord Ruler. And
So
then
next
drama.
book is all about Ellen versus Vin.
Yeah.
Well, I know who's winning that fight. Man, oh man, if the book ends that way, the story starts, the hero won long ago or whatever, you know, we think, but now, or the evil Lord Ruler wins, takes over the world, they depose him, then they go find his power, and we just get a new evil Lord Ruler hundreds of years later in Vin. That would be quite an ending.
This is the journals and stuff we've heard is basically that cycle over and over again. So unless they stop the cycle,
one time.
We don't know that. Maybe it was like, maybe it's even older than that. You know.
See, that's interesting. That the prophecy repeats
I always
itself.
felt that's where my spooks theory came in. Like,
oh my god,
it's another cycle of the same thing happening.
Just another turning of the wheel.
Yep, exactly. Hey, is that what Wheel of Time is about?
Yes.
Oh, I have not read that, so that's cool. I like that idea.
Not really a spoiler, but Robert Jordan's whole thing is that time is a wheel, so ages come and go, and it's said at the beginning of every book. I should remember the line perfectly.
It's okay. I'll read it.
Time just keeps repeating. No, you won't.
Time keeps on slipping.
she will now. You really intrigued her.
I gave her that book to read like 5 years ago.
Yeah, before it was just some random book. Now she has a hook.
Yeah.
All right. Now my other question I'll ask you. Is Vin the hero of ages?
I personally never believe in a prophecy in a book, ever. Or any magic, or any gods, unless the book explicitly tells me that it's true. So I lean towards no. It's all just, as they said earlier, prophecies are interpreted to be what is happening around the time.
I'm like, sure, she can be the hero. She's the one that fits it the most. Kind of like in Harry Potter in their prophecy, you know? Like, whoever fits the bill and, like, says, I'll do it, like, gets to do it. I think she is now, because she's already on the path, so.
Like I said, it's kind of hard to ask for theories and stuff when you reach an end of a book where there's really not much more to ask. So let's jump over to your favorite, to your characters and quotes of the week.
My favorite character in this set is Sazed for being a badass and losing his faith.
It's kind of a sad way to say it.
Yeah, I know. When I was writing this down, I was like, he was badass. He was doing all this stuff, and I was like, this is a big range of emotions for Sazed. Like,
Yeah.
That's why he's my favorite for this.
My favorite is very easily going to be Vin, because she jumped hundreds of feet in the air and slashed down with a giant sword and cut a dude in half, and then killed like 50 generals and forced 3 kings to bow to the man she loved while controlling an entire army of monsters, while also half dead from exhaustion. That's the kind of stuff that makes me love a character.
That is pretty awesome. The way you put it. 3 kings bound to your boyfriend. Like,
To your boyfriend, not even you. That's so bad.
To her
I
husband.
know they're technically married, but
Okay,
they were
okay,
boyfriends
yes,
like
husband.
yesterday. So
Husband, boyfriend, either way, to somebody who's not you.
that
Badass
is just
as
super
fuck.
loyalty.
It's loyalty, and it shows that you really don't care about any of this. You're sick of it,
I will be going with Vin as well. Just her heroic return at the end, saving everybody. I always like stories where everything seems hopeless and stuff, and then person comes back and saves it all.
Mm-hmm.
In comic books, Superior Spider-Man, when Peter Parker came back, that was great. And the Sam Wilson Captain America storyline with Secret Empire, when Steve Rogers came back, and that was great. So here, it just looked like, oh man, we're all fucked. We're all going to die. And then just Vin comes, just flying through the air, starts killing koloss. That was awesome.
To me, it's that on your left scene in Endgame. I think that's the best one of those I've ever seen.
Yeah. Cap standing alone with a broken shield against the entire Thanos'
entire army.
Yeah.
All right, now we'll do quotes.
Okay. My quote is, again, is Sazed with his little group guarding their gate. And he's, yeah, we need a better leader over here. Like, this is going to get bad. And it's like, you're the leader. It's like, huh? like I'm not gonna be good. Like, that's why you're here. I think that's just such a cute moment to realize that you're in charge, Like,
and that people
you're the best
think
we've
of you
got,
that way too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, that's right. Like, everything's spread out, and you're one of the main characters. Like he just didn't realize it as an
I don't think
observer.
Sazed thinks of himself as a main character.
He's always been an observer, a cataloger, so he never thought that he would be important and stuff. I really like that. So my quote is just, after he basically hulks out and gets all big, Sazed turned on thick legs, looking back at the startled soldiers. Say something brave, he told himself. Fight, Sazed bellowed, surprised at the sudden deepness and strength of his voice. And startlingly, they did. Like, I just imagine the scene so cinematic with him like shouting in a loud, like Hulk voice, like fight. Like, I really like that him and Vin kind of share this, where they are like thrust to be like these super larger than life characters, but inside they're just like, I don't know what to say. Like, but I should say something brave, right? Like, like something to inspire the soldiers, and all he could think of was to say fight and stuff. Like, and then they're like, yeah.
What more would you want to hear?
Like, like, you just do your best and say what people will expect or hope from you, and you muster up that strength to play your part and do your part and stuff, just to help others. I think that's a really brave and courageous thing, like as courageous as fighting itself, to say that really did a lot for all the soldiers, like.
Yeah. So your favorite quote is fight?
Yep, fight.
That's pretty badass. Mine is after Sazed has looked down and seen Tindwyl dead, and then he didn't know what to do. He tried to think of something proper to say, something proper to think, but suddenly all of religious knowledge seemed hollow. What was the use in giving her a burial? What was the value in speaking the prayers of a long-dead god? What good was he? The religion of Dadrada hadn't helped clubs. The survivor hadn't come to rescue the thousands of soldiers who had died. What was the point? None of Sazed's knowledge gave him comfort. He accepted the religions he knew, believed in their value, but that didn't give him what he needed. They didn't assure him that Tindwyl's spirit still lived. Instead, they made him question. If so many people believed so many different things, how could any one of them, or anything at all, really be true? I really liked how he described going through all those thoughts and processes after watching the person you care so much about be just pointlessly, hopelessly dead, you know? And I did not think we were going to get to see an arc like that with Sazed, so I found that really interesting. And having read Elantris and this, I'm starting to get the idea that Brandon Sanderson may have had a few very strong crises of faith in his life, because that seems to be a running thing so far.
Yeah.
Mm.
Interesting, yeah.
Because it's hard to be, quite religious when you're also quite clever and intelligent, because you'll start to think things that you probably don't really want to be thinking. I'm always really impressed with people like that who do that and come out the other side still having their faith, because that takes a specific sense of character in a person.
Mm-hmm. It's not just blind faith, you're.
Yeah, because you come to it, but also you come to accept it's faith. It's not reason. It's different. It comes from a different thing.
Yeah.
So I always think that's really interesting, because smart people, myself included, have a lot of trouble thinking that way,
I'm smart.
Well, I don't mean smart as a compliment in that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. People think
I mean
they're
people who are, I'm so smart, I mean it in the most insulting way possible. Like, oh, how could it be true if so many people believe it that they think they're so brilliant for thinking of, r/atheism, basically.
Yeah, to think about it and write and explore that in yourself and in your characters is very interesting.
Takes a bravery to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then mine's going to be pretty much Dockson's last stand. He trailed off, looking up as one of the enormous, majestic stained glass windows shattered. The others began to explode as well, broken by thrown rocks. A few large koloss jumped through the holes, landing on the shard-strewn marble floor. Even broken, the windows were beautiful, despite glass edges twinkling in the evening light. Through one of them, Dockson could see that the storm was breaking, letting sunlight through. If we'd done that, Dockson said quietly, we'd have been no better than beasts. Scribes screamed, trying to flee as the koloss began to slaughter. Dockson stood quietly, hearing noise behind, grunts, harsh breathing, as koloss approached through the black hallways. He reached for the sword on his table as men began to die. He closed his eyes. Kel, he thought. I almost started to believe they were right, that you were watching over us, that you were some sort of god. He opened his eyes and turned, pulling the sword from its sheath. Then he froze, staring at the massive beast approaching. So big. Dockson grit his teeth, sent a final curse Kelsier's way, then charged, swinging. Creature caught its weapon in an indifferent hand, ignoring the cut it caused, then brought its own weapon down and blackness followed. Said before, everything, just him looking at the stained glass windows, just all that like breaking stuff, just reminded me so much of that scene in Titanic. And to me, I just think this scene, like, even in a movie, if they just got rid of music, got rid of the sound, and just made it silence, where he just sees all that stuff coming, would be a good way to make it, and then it just makes Dockson's death seem a little bit more sad with how it was written.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, I really felt Dockson, that moment when he's freaked out, most people would freeze, but if you know you're about to die, freezing is like a pretty lame way to go out. So I was really impressed with him for rushing forward, even though it was really totally hopeless. Yeah.
Really shows his character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's strong. Oh, yeah. Joe, or I had a little theory about Dockson, and now it's gone.
No, Sheta, you're not trying to bring Dockson back to life, are you?
I know. Just that the last little bit he did there is a little prayer to Kelsier. Now that Kelsier is a religion, maybe...
I don't know if I'd call it a prayer to him.
He talked to him, though,
Yeah,
he was saying, I thought you were a god, but apparently you're not. And then he curses his name as he goes and dies.
I could see ghost or spirit Kelsier stopping the sword from hitting Dox. And
oh no,
saving
Sheta.
him. And it goes black
sorry you
because...
have that.
Yeah.
And the person
You
that
poor
came,
thing.
and the person that came up to Sazed and said, "Yeah, we saw Dockson die."
Well, they just saw a mist come over him, and then
Oh
and they just
no.
assumed. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
just-
Sheta.
You
I
know,
know.
Sheta, I know I shouldn't be breaking these, but I'll just tell you, Dockson's dead. All right. I don't think that's a spoiler to just tell you. He died right there. He's not coming back.
Oh, maybe he went to Kelsey or heaven though.
Stop. You're making me sad, Sheta.
Wait, so Kelsier has made his own heaven?
Yeah, since he's his own religion.
Having a religion does not necessarily mean there's a heaven, you know?
Well, that's what I always thought. Every
No, every
religion has their
religion's
own
got different
afterlife.
rules. Not
Kelsey or
necessarily.
heaven. Kelsey or heaven would just be being part of the mist and stuff. And you could still.
You
be
kill
around.
nobles for all eternity.
Yeah, sounds like.
Oh man,
Kelsey.
Dockson would love that.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a happy ending after all.
Yep,
Yeah.
sucks for Ellen who converted to that religion, but granted, Ellen's only murder has been another noble.
Yeah,
that was
he's
not
already
murder,
on the path.
that was an execution.
I count it as murder.
Not
You
me.
can't just do that.
You can
Yeah,
when you're king.
Sheta, that's because you're anti-Ellen and pro-Zane.
I'm not gonna deny it.
If Sheta was pro Zane, she would be thinking we should be killing everybody. Oh, you know
Kill
what?
them.
I forgot that there is probably a god. So I think that we're gonna see it either revealed or the scope of it implied when they go to the well. I think that's what it's gonna be. I forgot Ellen was talking,
Ooh.
or Zane was talking to God the whole time.
Yeah. The well will be a portal into heaven, quote. Nope.
No, I don't think that.
All right. So for next week's chapters, we will be finishing this book. So just read the rest of it.
No, I need a chapter number or I'm gonna be confused.
It's 56 through epilogue.
Okay.
All right. And then before our plugs, I will just throw out there that Justin and I, we did record and we were guest stars on another Cosmere podcast called Cosmere Connections. That episode should be coming out either this week or next week. And it's for Elantris chapters 38 through 43. And so if people want to listen to us on this, how that podcast works is the first half, they spoiler free, they go through those chapters. So if you follow along with us, you can listen to that because we already went through those chapters. The second half, and they'll let you know when it breaks between them, the second half is a spoiler section where it talks about the end of that book, other Cosmere books, everything's free. And there were some sections where we had to deafen Justin's ears so he couldn't hear. So
Yes.
if people are following along with us for the first time, you won't be able to listen to that second half. But yeah, it's like I said, it's Cosmere Connections. I listened to it on Apple Podcast. They also, I think they originally put the episodes on YouTube. So if you look that up either this week or next week, Elantris 38 through 43 is the episode that we're on.
Yep, those guys are cool. I enjoyed being on there. If you're into this stuff, I think that there's a lot for you there, or a lot that they can offer that we don't have here, especially since we have not read all the books yet.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like
they know so much more about the Cosmere than I do.
See, I wouldn't know. I ducked out during those parts, so I'll take your word. For all I know, you guys are just talking about me behind my back. Like, deafen him. That guy sucks. Why is he on your podcast? And I'm just sitting there. Joe's like, I know. I keep trying to get rid of him, but he won't fucking leave.
All right. So now that we've said that part, now we'll go into our plugs.
Yes, same thing. My Instagram for my art is Sheta_low, and I have another Instagram for cosplays and costumes and fashion at Mermaid Machete.
You can find me and my art at X, Instagram, and DeviantArt. And you will see things if you go there. Things you will never recover from.
Profanity Beaver's the name, by the way.
Yay.
Wait,
You
did I
didn't
not
the
say
name.
that?
No.
I didn't say the
No.
name. Just go onto
That was-
any of those sites. If you explore enough, you will find me. It may take years. It could take decades, but you will
You might
find
not
me on
see
there.
it because you've been shadow banned, but
Yeah, I may be shadow banned, but if you really explore the deep code of those sites, you will find me on them somewhere. It's like a mystery.
All right, and then for our normal show stuff, if you wherever you're listening to this, feel free to give it a like, a review, comments, whatever you can there. I will read them if I know how to find them. If you otherwise, you can follow us on Key Amongst Ancient Letter, formerly known as Twitter. You know what? Cosmechron, COSMERECHRON, or just made it like a week ago, Blue Sky, Cosmere Chronicles. I don't know social media, so I really don't know the difference between the two. But I know a lot of people have left one for the other.
They'll be back. They always are every time they make a new one.
But yeah, so if you prefer to use Blue Sky, you can try to find us on there. I think just looking for Cosmere Chronicles will find us, I hope. Like I said, I do not know social media. Which is why, if you also don't know social media, but you want to contact us, just send us an email. I know how to use that. CosmereChronicles@gmail.com. Send us an email. Once again, I'll read it on air. And we'll get Justin Sheta's live reactions.
no, it's pre-recorded.
It's
Don't
live
spoil
to
the
tape.
magic, Sheta.
Live to tape. That's everything for today. Be sure to come back next week for the exciting conclusion of Well of Ascension. So,
Woo!
everyone go out and have fun and, yeah, have a nice, decent week.
Yes, a decent week. Don't set your expectations too high.
Yeah, then
Nice
you can
and
only
decent.
be surprised. Yeah, and everyone
Mhm.
stay decent. Too much sinning in the world.
Yep.